If you do go on to enjoy today's video, do me a favour and hit that like button and of course subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. And if you want to avoid the random lottery that is FIFA points, you can go straight to the source with u7buy.com, and of course you can use the code TVM at the checkout to get yourself a discount. What is going on, guys? TVM here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do some more January upgrades. They're going to be more defense-minded than anything else. So last time I did this was a couple of weeks ago now, and I said if you want to see more sort of defenders, then hit the like button. You guys did. I was lazy, and now it's coming out. But if you want to see players, whether they be attacking or defensive or what have you, from other leagues, I'm talking leagues outside of the top 5, Dutch League, Portuguese League, so on and so forth, then all you need to do is hit the like button on this video, and of course comment with whichever league you'd like me to include in the next run. Now, they're not all defence-minded players here. I would say 95% of them are, but there are a couple of decent-looking attackers as well as midfielders involved in here as well. Now, up first is a player that I can't pronounce the name of Strasbourg. I wouldn't even know where to begin with this. Kaki, I've got no idea. From a 72 to potentially a 76. A decent looking card for like a starter team. Not that anyone in their right mind is going to want to start a team at this point of FIFA. The thing to mention here, though, of course, is if he does get an inform on top of this 76, he could go to 81. That would make him semi-usable. We're going to move on now to Martinez of Nims. Again, another centre-back from a 74 to potentially a 77. Again, not a card that I'm sure many people will want to use outside of the fan of that club. Although something else worth mentioning for sure is the fact that there are a lot of silver to golds within this, which could help League SBC. So Martinez would go from a 74 to a 77. Silla here up next for Toulouse from a 70 to potentially a 75. So you'd be saving yourself a lot of money because obviously these silver cards would go for between 1 and 5, maybe even 6 or 7,000 coins for some of them. A couple of the German league players I've got coming up, they will save you a lot of money. But obviously these non-rares are going to be packed, so all rares will be packed so commonly that they will be under 1,000 coins. Moving on to Andreyyev of Lille. Now, this isn't a silver. This is a 78 rated midfielder moving into potentially an 80 rated. He's had a decent season for Lille. Lille have been very up and down, though, this season so far. Kind of hoping that they can kick on and do well in the back end. But he's definitely emerged from the woodwork as a very capable player, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get an upgrade. And already we're moving away from the French league. There are, I mean, I'm going to dip in and out of leagues here or there, but there aren't that many specifically from a league. So Premier League tends to get a lot of focus in terms of upgrades because EA bum the Premier League. But yeah, I will try my best to be as diverse as possible and include as many players as I can. If I've missed anybody out, rest assured, I've probably not missed it. It's probably just been saved for another video. I've got to try and spread these things out. Kind of put everything in one video. The video would be an hour long. Kolarov from an 82 to potentially an 83. You can kind of judge player upgrades from EA point of view. If they've had more than one inform, all but guaranteed an upgrade in my opinion. It tends to be the same every year. It shouldn't be any different. I've kind of gone off the stats. I've not gone off informs, although I have noticed that Kolarov has 2 informs, so that should give him somewhat of a guarantee. 83, 84. I went for an 83 to be conservative, but you never know. Moving on to Theo Hernandez, and if this guy doesn't get an upgrade, I will eat my left slipper. I don't own slippers, but the sentiment was there. From a 76 to potentially a 79. Again, it's not a massive upgrade. I've not touched his pace either, although I wouldn't be surprised to see it move up maybe 1. But yeah, it's not a huge upgrade, but it's definitely worth. It's definitely worth that because of the informs. You know, they could go up again then. You know, that's what you're looking at more than anything. You might think, oh, well, that's a pointless upgrade. I don't really care about it. But then that could push the inform up if one of the upgraded stats overlaps that of the inform, if that makes any sense to you whatsoever. Moving on to Asabi, not sure. I don't think this guy has a special card. He should have an inform, but EA are EA, and they didn't give it to him. They gave it to someone else who would have sold packs. But from an 83 to potentially an 84, again, it's not a huge upgrade, but this card is good enough that that little upgrade could actually be enough to make me want to use it. The unfortunate thing about him, of course, is the pace. I don't really know an awful lot about him in terms of real life, in terms of his speed, so I doubt EA would upgrade it more than just 1 or 2. But you know, wishful thinking, we can hope. Moving on to Toloi. Again, I know I'm going to mispronounce these, and I do apologise. From a 78 to an 80, it's not a huge upgrade, but it's enough, you know. Again, the pace isn't great, but with a chem style, you could turn that into a decent card. Now, I know a lot of people out there are not going to care about an 80 rated centre back. Oh, I'm not going to put a chem style on him and put him into my team. It's not going to go anywhere near my team. If you pack him first owner and you've got an objective to take care of, whether it be full Serie A, full Atlanta, full Brazil, whatever, those kind of situations will call for this. So, you know, I find myself using players this year that I never thought I would use because you need them for objectives. Toloi could be that guy. Moving on to Elvedi. Now, position-wise, I'm not sure what EA are going to go with here. He could be a right-back, could be a centre-back. But I've gone from a 78 to an 80, and again, that's a decent upgrade. It's a little modest upgrade here or there with 2 on the pace, 2 on the defensive stats, and then, of course, 3 on the physical, which would be really nice indeed. 3 on dribbling and 2 on passing as well. He looks like an alright card. Again, with a chem style for a first owner team, you never know. Links with Sommer. Gets a nice strong link in there if you need the chemistry. Not bad at all. And again, could push his inform up. Moving on to Diedrich Boyata. Of course, back in the day, he used to play for Celtic, was it? And he had a silver card. I think he had a bronze card at one point during FIFA. He's come through it a lot and now potentially going from a 76 to a 78 with a very usable card because that physical is crazy. He's already got the pace, but again, if you add a little bit to that pace, you bump the defensive stats up, it'll go well into the 80s, and that physical is already up there. I mean, that is a very, very good looking 78 rated card. Most of these have been decided by the sheer number of clearances, interceptions or blocks, potentially rating and clean sheets as well. I've gone through the stats fairly vigorously and I've chosen those that I think deserve to be there just based on numbers rather than actual performances. Akemi up next. 79 rated, potentially to an 82. Maybe that's a little bit generous, but I kind of thought him and Schultz were generally on the same level. I mean, Hakimi has done so well this season with the amount of goals that he scored. I would have liked to have upgraded the shooting a little bit more, but I know EA very, very well, and I'd be very surprised if they upgraded his shooting by more than 4. I think he deserves it, but I just don't think he's going to get it. But the upgrade in general, he will get. I'm almost certain of that. Moving on to Max. Now, this guy has got himself a couple of informs this year. Could easily have had 3 or 4, to be fair, if EA didn't have that sort of 2-week rule. From an 81 to... up to an 81 from 70... Is it 79 he was? I do apologise, I don't have it in front of me. But again, a decent-looking card. I've just gone off his inform more than anything, so there is a potential to have that sort of downgraded slightly. But he's definitely going to get himself an inform. Moving on to William. This guy jumped out of the woodwork for me this year because I didn't know anything about him up until this season. But he's actually done alright for Wolfsburg as well. Good enough for an upgrade in my opinion. Doesn't deserve to be a silver. Should go to a 76 or there or thereabouts. Not a great card, but if you're a fan of the club or you were in need of a Wolfsburg player for League SBC, for instance, you're now going to have another gold, potentially. Moving on to Tramel. This is a big one in terms of League SBC because Tramel will go from a silver, in my opinion, to a gold. Just not a great card, not a card you're going to want to use, but in terms of League SBC, definitely a card that will help you out a lot, I'm sure. Let's move on to La Liga. Not many players from La Liga to mention. Olivas up from a 76 to a 78. It's a terrible card, whichever way you look at it, in terms of the pace, particularly. I mean, to be fair, it's not bad defensively or physical wise either, saying that, but I don't know. It's not great, but unless you're a fan of the club. But he's gone from a gold to a gold, so you're not going to get to save yourself with any sort of League SBC stuff there. Moving on to Raul Albiol. He's got himself an inform this year, playing very well for Villarreal, and he'll go from an 83 potentially to an 84. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if EA went a little bit crazy and bumped him to an 85. I don't think he deserves quite that high a rating, but I definitely think that he'll get himself an upgrade. Not a great card at all, but, you know, upgrade worthy for sure. Moving on to Diego Carlos. Now, this guy has come from nowhere, been given a road to the final card, and now potentially could get himself an upgrade as well. That would maybe bump the road to the final card, I'm not sure. Up to an 81, I have him though. Maybe just an 80 from EA, but I don't know. He's proved himself in La Liga so far this year. He's done really well. If you follow anything like Football Index or anything like that, you'll notice that people are investing a lot of money in him. There's a lot of faith in that guy. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him bumped up to an 81. 80 for sure, but he's definitely eligible for an upgrade. Moving on to Diaz of Granada. This is going to be a big help for those doing the League SBCs. Up from a silver to a gold, albeit just about, but still, that'll save you a few thousand coins, I'm sure. Again, not a great card. Really isn't a good card. The base card is awful. The upgrade isn't much better. Although I have upgraded him considerably. He could get a bigger upgrade, 76, 77, who knows? But he definitely deserves one. Moving on, and out of the La Liga already. La Liga so far this year, it's been less than enjoyable. I mean, if you're a fan of that league and you find it enjoyable, and maybe you want to criticise what I've said, feel free to do so. But just based off the stats alone, there isn't enough going on there to warrant upgrades or informs or anything really. Tarkovsky's been playing well for Burnley. Few overachieving Premier League teams this season to mention, so obviously I'm going to include a couple of their players, but there is definitely going to be more to mention throughout the sort of upgrade video series, if you will. Tarkovsky from a 79 to an 81. It's decent, but the more important thing about this is it should boost the informs. That's the main takeaway. So the 84 could potentially go to an 85 or even an 86, but I would imagine that the informs would get a boost from this upgrade. Moving on to Diego Rico. Again, if you're doing League SBC, you could be helped out here, although it's not that difficult to complete Bournemouth without silver players, or without many of them anyway. Up from a 74 to a 77. Again, not a good card, but decent for links if you need them. And that League SBC upgrade could be decent. Moving on, Pereira. Leicester, I mean, to be fair, you could give the whole 11 an upgrade. They've been playing very, very well this year so far. Hopefully, as a Liverpool fan, they will tail off, but no sign of that just yet. Pereira up from an 82 to an 83. Now, it's not a massive upgrade, but it should be enough to warrant people to potentially go out and pick this up. I would have thought that this card would be worth about 20-25k if it was upgraded to an 83. If it goes further, who knows, but 20-25k initially. It'll drop quite quickly, but that's in and around where I expect the price to be. Moving on to Wan-Bissaka. A lot of you might criticise me here, and I am a Liverpool fan, so I'm not biased to this guy in the slightest, because I'm not English either. So, I mean, take this with a pinch of salt if you will, but stats-wise, he has actually done enough, in my opinion, to warrant being an 80 rated card. Now, he could go further. I would not be surprised to see him go to an 81, but I definitely don't think he deserves to be 79. He's done relatively well in what has been a very, I would say, poor season for Man United. I think a lot of people expected bigger things from them with the signings that they've made, but he's one of the shining lights in that team. Not the only Manchester United player to be mentioned today, though. Moving on to Grealish. Now, there's no denying whether you like him or you don't. He's done really well for Villa. There are a few other players. And if you've missed the other January upgrade video and you're wondering why I'm not including some of the obvious players, maybe they featured already. McGinn, for instance. I think he's featured in the other video. If he hasn't, I'll look back at it and we'll do another one and include McGinn, because he definitely deserves to be there. But Jack Grealish today, up from a 77 to an 80, definitely deserves that. I think he'll get an inform on Wednesday as well for his performance just gone today. Or yesterday, sorry. But definitely deserves that upgrade from a 77 to an 80. Pascal Gross, I don't know how many of you follow Brighton's performance, but they're very up and down, to be fair. One day they'll have a fantastic performance, next day they'll be abysmal. But I still think Pascal Gross deserves to go from a 78 to an 80. Much more rounded, what's the word I'm looking for? Much better rounded card. I can't really put that together in a sentence, but you know what I mean. What I'm trying to say, he's very well rounded. Good passing. Reasonable dribbling stats for an 80 rated card. I can't imagine he'll get into anyone's team, but you never know. If he gets an inform, he'll now go to an 83 as opposed to an 81, which is nice. Moving on to a Sheffield United player, Stevens. Now, this is a pretty useless card for anyone who isn't doing League SBC or isn't a fan of Sheffield United, because he's gone from a silver to a gold, which is really nice, but it's a useless card. But he does deserve an upgrade, as do most of the Sheffield United players. And speaking of which, Lundstrom up next, from a 67 to a 76. That's a big upgrade. My thought process behind this was that his inform is 76 rated. They're going to want to make it a gold. Are they really going to bump it to a 75? I don't think so. So he'll go to a 76, and then his inform could potentially go to an 81, which would make his inform actually a very good card, very well rounded. Everything about that inform would go up. If this is an accurate representation of the gold card, his inform will go up to well above 70 for every single stat. His physical will be well above 80. His defensive stats will be above 80. His passing will be touching 80. And then his dribbling and shooting will be mid-70s as well as high pace. So, yeah, not a bad card if his inform does get upgraded. 2 more players to mention before we wrap this up. Harry Wilson of Bournemouth. From a 75 to a 77. Not a great looking card either way, really, whichever way you look at it, but definitely one worth mentioning for an upgrade. And finally, one that I'm fully expecting to get a Future Stars card, but before that, a January upgrade for sure, and that is, of course, Daniel James of Manchester United. He is a regular for that Manchester United team recently, or at least I say regular, he's been playing a lot. Up from a 72 to potentially a 77. It's not a great upgrade in terms of are many people going to want to use that 77 rated card? No, potentially not. But Man United fans, Welsh fans, obviously myself included, will want to build a team and include him in it, or at least have him on the bench, bring him on as a sub, and just generally, get a gist of what he's all about. But again, a few things to mention here. If you do League SBC method, that's fantastic. If you don't care about that, the gold card is then a big stepping stone for an inform. So if he was to get an inform right now, it would probably go to like a 77, 78. If he gets an inform after the January upgrade, it goes to an 81. If he gets a Future Stars card, that can only be a good thing to push him up even further again. So we could look at maybe, if he stays at 72, the Future Stars card could go to an 86, 87. If he gets a Future Stars card after the upgrade, he then could potentially go up to a 90 rated card. That, by the way, would be absolutely phenomenal. But that, my friends, is going to do it for today's video, and it's been a bit of a lengthy one. I know I've left people out. Maybe purposefully, maybe by accident. Either way, feel free to let me know what player you believe deserves an upgrade in the comments and what leagues you'd like me to do next. If you have enjoyed today's video, do me a favour and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until the next time, goodbye.
Football Index. The game changed. Download the app now.